Today, we're out in the woods with forester Manus Crowley. We will be exploring the ins and outs of continuous cover forestry, commonly referred to as CCF. With this forest management approach, the aim is to develop and maintain forest stands into permanent, irregular structures that provide high quality timber, enhance biodiversity and deliver other ecosystem services. Enjoy!
Yeah, so we're in a very interesting forest here. This is a mixed, predominantly it is a beech woodland with Norway spruce, planted in 1942, fairly old site in Irish terms. And then there are some native species scattered around, mostly oak, pockets of birch and wetter areas down in the lower parts that would have mixtures of willow and ash. And so this is a nice example of a woodland that is fulfilling a couple of functions, and these are the four tenets and principles of CCF, which is protection of biodiversity and ecosystem services, protection of soils and climate by retaining the forest in situ, production of timber for making revenue, but also as a place for local people and for people in the area to come and use it as amenity woodland. With CCF, that is an overriding principle. The forest is doing all of those functions at the same time. One of the objectives is to produce high quality timber and also to remove trees to allow natural regeneration in the site. We walk through the forest and you can see this is a beautiful beech tree. It's a very straight tree and will produce a number of lengths of sawlog timber that can be used for furniture production. So the white marks on the trees here to identify this as a high quality tree. So we look high up into the crowns of the tree to see what type of interaction is happening between this tree's crown and its neighbour's crowns. So in this case, to the right, we can see another beech tree, which is actually also of a reasonably good quality, but at this intervention we would select this tree to be removed, and it will allow the crown of this tree to spread into the space that's been left open. So in order to do that, we select a different coloured paint, a diagonal mark on the tree with a very vibrant paint. We spray both sides of the tree with a diagonal slash, so it's visible from two sides to the harvester. And so as the harvester's travelling past, they identify this tree to be removed, fell it carefully away from the high quality tree that was being marked in the white paint over here, and then the timber is sawn up and left ready to be taken away by the forwarder. So because this is a beech dominated forest, predominantly the type of regeneration that we're getting here is of course beech. So beech is a shade tolerant tree and its seeds can regenerate freely in quite a heavy shade and exist for a long time down there. Over here you'll see that there are some older oak trees. Through our process of marking the stand here, we're trying to find these native trees. So this is one here, a lovely oak tree with a white triangle. Identify that as a biodiversity tree. The target here is that it always will be a mixed forest. So anywhere that we find native trees, our main objective is then to release those native trees, give them loads of space to grow and hopefully start pumping out acorns that will be spread throughout the wood and get oak to naturally spread throughout the forest. So there's another one there, you can see. Another oak. It's been freed up. I can't see now, but there's probably a stump in here somewhere of the tree that was removed to allow the canopy of that oak to grow. This is a largely mixed piece of woodland here. So we've got oak, we've got alder grown here, there's looks like European larch grown. So this was planted in 1995 and these would have been largely grass fields and that. And deer numbers, and the predominant deer around this area is fallow deer, would have been relatively low at the time. But if we were to try to plant this type of woodland here today, we would run into absolutely massive problems. Deer are by far the single greatest barrier to diverse woodland planting and diverse woodland management. So obviously CCF relies on natural processes of regeneration in order to restock the woodlands. So if you have very high deer numbers in an area, they browse the newly regrowing trees, and in some areas that have very heavy deer numbers, you can have absolutely zero regeneration of trees in the forest floor, which is a problem. We're actually standing beside some fallow deer droppings here where we are, so they're very, very common in this area. You can actually see they rub the bark of the tree with their antlers and strip it off. So in order to deal with deer, we have a number of options. Newly planted sites, we will put up a deer fence completely surrounding the newly planted area to exclude deer. They're very expensive and they need to be maintained and looked after, or the other option is shooting, and that's something that does go on in Ireland, but in a largely uncoordinated fashion. So at the moment we are seeing deer numbers steadily increasing. So if we're interested in having diverse types of forests and managing forests in a diverse way, we are going to really need to take the matter of our deer very seriously, because without it we won't have the types of woodlands that we want. CCF has been practiced widely across Europe for, in some cases, hundreds of years, but in Ireland it's still fairly new, and because of that there are some challenges to getting CCF fully implemented in Ireland, particularly around skills available. So it requires a particular set of skills for foresters to know how to mark stands, and because foresters have been so long engaged in conventional harvesting, they mightn't necessarily know how to do some of the CCF style harvesting. And as well as that, with harvesting contractors themselves, there is a little bit more technical skill required to fell large trees out of the middle of smaller trees without damaging them. But this is where we are. We've been practicing for about 20 years, and we're now at a point where it's time for foresters to start learning, and for landowners to start raising their awareness about it.
It is being said that there is limited timber market for higher quality timber. Would that be a problem?
With CCF, we have an opportunity to grow a wider range of species, and for longer. Two of the species in particular we're thinking about is Douglas fir and western red cedar. Really high valuable conifers, but they do tend to grow to quite large sizes, and at the larger sizes they are more valuable. Good, really high quality Douglas could be up to 60, 70, even a metre in diameter. So I mean, there are mills even today that are processing the larger diameter timbers. They are still there. I don't think it's something that we should necessarily worry about. I mean, as the products become available, I think the industry will rise to meet it, because they're high quality timbers and they're there to be used.
They're imported now, most of it.
Yeah, you are right. There's a lot of timber imported in Ireland, predominantly broadleaves, oak and beech coming in from Europe. This is an opportunity to create these long-term woods with high quality products coming out of them. So look, the industry just has to come along with the system, and I think that's just what happens over time. So if you think about the types of things that can happen to a forest, and they seem to be happening more and more lately, with climate change and pests and diseases, very high winds, we can have drought occurring, we can have massively high rainfall. If you imagine in our conventional forests, we've generally single species stands that are all the same age, and a disease comes along that affects spruce or whatever it is, and obviously you're going to lose a load of trees. Whereas in a mixed, uneven age stand, if a disease came in and was just affecting the Corsican pine, it wouldn't have such a massive impact here, because the Corsican pine is only a small percentage of the stand. So from an economic point of view, you still have a functioning forest here, and you still have lots of trees standing that obviously have a value. One of the major beetles that is on its way potentially to Ireland is the spruce bark beetle. And in recent years that's ravaged large areas of Central Europe. There's areas of thousands of hectares that have been absolutely destroyed and wiped out of Norway spruce. So this information is coming back to Ireland, so people are becoming aware of these potential issues. So they're trying to build resilience and reduce long-term economic risk in their forests by creating multifunctional, multi-species, full range of ages diverse CCF sites.
Watch the complete series about continuous cover forestry. For example, a landowner collaboration project in County Offaly. Click the end screen or playlist link in the description. Also watch my other series with the charity Coillte about native woodland and trees on the farm. Stay tuned and thanks a lot for watching.